Welcome to the Magical Overthinkers podcast, a show for thought spiralers, exploring the subjects we can't stop overthinking about, from celebrity worship to nostalgia to social media comparison. This podcast was inspired by the New York Times bestselling book, The Age of Magical Overthinking, Notes on Modern Irrationality by Amanda Montell. That's me, your host. I am a textbook overthinker. Living in this incredibly confounding information age, I often find myself overanalyzing the world to death as an attempt to make sense of it. But all that overthinking definitely doesn't help me overthink less. If you have all but lost faith in others' ability to reason, or have made a cornucopia of questionable judgments that you can't even explain, my hope is for this show to make some sense of the senseless. Every other week, I'm going to interview a fascinating, wise, charismatic expert guest about some buzzy, confounding subject from the zeitgeist. Think narcissism, imposter syndrome, girl math. Every other Wednesday, you can expect an overthinker's investigation into the subject at hand, like our episode on narcissism, for which I interviewed clinical psychologist and host of the Navigating Narcissism podcast, Dr. Ramani Durvasula.
Grandiose narcissism is more common in men, but vulnerable narcissism, that's equal across genders.
Or our episode on monogamy, where I got to interview philosopher Dr. Ellie Anderson from the Overthink podcast.
For a long time throughout human history in many societies, marriage and love didn't necessarily go together.
That's wild. And be sure to stay tuned for the episode where we overthink about UFOs with the astrophysicist slash folklorist Dr. Moya McTeer.
I have publicly stated aliens that I find attractive.
Who are the hottest aliens, you think?
I actually find the Wraith from Stargate pretty hot.
If you're like me and feel like the volume in your brain is just way too high sometimes, I hope that this podcast helps us quiet the cacophony for a while, or even hear a melody in it. Magical Overthinkers is coming every other Wednesday, starting May 15th, wherever you get your podcasts.